I
I think
apologize
so.
for any buzzing noise. It's probably my laptop. Yeah, I mean, it could be a vibrator, but I don't know.
There are so many varieties. It's really hard for me to pinpoint the brand name. I used to hear it over the burlap wall all the time.
Right? Oh my gosh.
And then I found out it was just Ian's, so sneaking in there. Welcome to episode 1 of In Deep with Dan. I'm so glad you found the show. It's my show, but now it's kind of our show. I get to do all the work. You get to hit a button, maybe a slider for volume now and then. It seems like an equitable relationship we're forming here. That voice you heard was Ashlee Clow, also known as B, aka Slayer of Microbes. In the daytime, she's a traveling microbiologist. Can I say gypsy? I think that's okay. It's a compliment. She enjoys playing with bacteria and fungus. By night, she's a video gamer or a wanderer of the night. Who knows where you will find her? Not me. I have no idea. She's free-spirited and progressively inclined. Hey, you conservatives, don't leave when you hear the word progressive, okay? Just pretend it's still 1985 and we can all just talk to each other. So let's hear Ashlee talk about micro stuff and her cool cat and other fun stuff. I think I forgot to ask her about her roller derby days and her nighttime pole dancing. I am not making that up. I'll have to get her back here and ask her about that. But first, before you listen to me talk with Ashlee, the upfront stuff. You can find this podcast wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or for you old-timers, iTunes. Or if you don't like Apple's app, you can use Overcast. Or if you don't have an Apple and you have an Android, you can use TuneIn or Google Podcasts, probably a number of other ones. Hey, it's Android. There are probably 1,000. You can use Spotify on both Apple and Android. And if you got a Windows phone, I don't imagine you're listening to this right now anyway, so I don't have to worry about you. You can listen to this show on your PC or Mac via the player on the website, soon to be at indeepwithdan.com. So, go in deep. All right. But first, before we get to our guest, it's time for a little segment I like to call Unpack This Clickbait. Cue the music. Unpack this clickbait. In this segment, I take a random clickbait post found on Facebook, Twitter, or some other social media site and pull it apart to see what's inside. A few minutes ago, I found this little gem on Facebook, posted by someone called @Hale_Razor. Maybe. It's hard to tell. It has the look of a Twitter screenshot. Here's what it says. Quote, "Don't blame all illegal immigrants for the heinous crimes of one," said the folks who blame everyone in the NRA for acts committed by people not in it. Okay, I think we got that. Okay, let's break that apart. As far as unpacking this one, it's kind of too easy, and I'm not intending to come at this from any political point of view. I just want to unpack words. Words are what I like to unpack. I like to pack them up sometimes. At the moment, I'm unpacking them. All right, here we go, at the risk of pissing somebody off. What's new? The folks, with quotes, who supposedly said this are not identified in the clickbait. However, many people did say that. Said don't blame all illegal immigrants for the heinous crimes of one, or something to that effect. I personally don't know anyone who blames, quote, everyone in the NRA for acts committed by people in it, end quote, where it is the NRA, I assume. I do know plenty of people who blame the lobbying arm of the NRA for making tactical weapons available to the general public without much or any struggle to procure them, though. So in essence, this clickbait is taking two separate points and cramming them together under false pretenses. The assumption here is that the intended audience for these things, the base fans of the post's backers, will assume that because they despise the main quote itself, they will believe the attribution of the quote being said by some extreme fringe faction of anti-gun rebels, instead of more than likely it being said by advocates of illegal immigrants. I'm not advocating specifically in this segment either against guns or for guns or against illegal immigrants or for illegal immigrants. I'm simply pointing out how words can be used to sway the reader to a specific point of view. That's it. Okay? So when it says, don't blame all illegal immigrants for the heinous crimes of one, as being a quote that people in the world have said, which is a true thing that people have said, but then that's attributed to a fantasy group of, quote, folks who blame everyone in the NRA for acts committed by people not in the NRA. That is about as common as anything that happens in the world, because it's, things will happen occasionally. So that's my take on that. But I will repeat the quote, and the quote is, don't blame all illegal immigrants for the heinous crimes of one. The quote itself is a logical quote. I mean, forget illegal immigrants. Put any group in there. Don't blame all construction workers for the heinous crimes of one construction worker. Don't blame all cops for the heinous crimes of one cop. Right? I think the people who are against the one quote could be for that quote. And not just because they like cops, but because it is logical not to blame an entire group for the acts of one. All right, so the first part of this clickbait, it could be argued, is simply true. But the attribution of that quote to a group that one does not like, which would be a group of people who hates the NRA or is defined by someone else as hating all members of the NRA, or who thinks that all members of the NRA are responsible for all the heinous acts committed by guns. It just sets the reader, the non-discriminatory reader, up to just believe everything, and it's tough. All right, tirade over. Just know that the quote itself is a logical quote if one calms the heck down and thinks about it without the raging, angry, rabid lens of political flame fanning. It's like innocent until proven guilty, or don't shoot the messenger, or maybe sugar is ultimately bad for you, or don't judge a book by its cover. Stuff we used to believe in. This is simple sleight of hand, this clickbait, and that's why I am whipping these open. Okay? All right. Let's see, what else about this one? Even though I want to bail out on it, I will perform my due diligence. Let's see. It was posted by a group called For America. One word. All right, let's do a quick search on this. Okay. Led by a fella named L. Brent Bozell III. Big Tea Party guy, no surprise there. I ain't judging, just saying. Oh, he once said of Trump... Okay, now, again, this isn't a political podcast, but here we go. Just for a moment, actually, this is not even a political thing I'm reading here. It's a hypocritical thing, it looks like. So, he is quoted as saying of Trump, quote, "God help this country if this man were president," end quote. Then it looks like when Trump got the GOP nomination, Bozell went after Jake Tapper, the journalist, for biased coverage against Trump. It also says the MRC, which I think is the Media Research Center, which is that conservative think tank, had called Tapper a fair reporter. So the MRC called him a fair reporter. Bozell said he wasn't, after Bozell himself had gone after Trump prior to Trump's nomination. Anyway, but of course that was all back before November 2016, when news was news. Remember that? When news was thought to be news and not just people giving their opinions? See, by the way, there's news and then there is spin. All sides have the spin, and then there's a narrow band of news. So watch out for that, because you used to know what it looked like. It's fading, the recognition capability is fading, but the news is still there. Just got to look for it. All right, enough of that. I'm done now. The clickbait led me down a dark, deep hole to the bad place. I must climb out. This is definitely not a political show. I'm just going to call things as I see them. When I see them, I went looking for clickbait. I got a little fired up. And because I like thought, I like thinking, I like going in deep. Okay? Comments? You disagree. Do you have a clickbait you want me to tackle? I don't care which side the clickbait is taking. I want to peel those onions, peoples. Leave a suggestion on the Facebook page, found wherever you get your Facebook, at facebook.com/InDeepWithDanPodcast. One word, InDeepWithDanPodcast. Or you can email us at InDeepWithDan@gmail.com. We'll be doing Instagram and Twitter too, I suppose. Sure, whatever. I have links. I need to post there, I suppose. I really want you to understand something deeply. And that's why we're here. Okay? I want you to know that I don't want this show to be a political show. I am not qualified to speak at length about true political issues. I'm not in the political arena. It's not actually one of my interests. But I do want you to know that that is true for most people. And if one is going to comment on political issues, they'd better do their homework. Research it. Look things up. Look everything up. Look everything up about science, about politics, about nutrition, about medicine and inoculations. Find out what is happening in the world where professionals are rendering an opinion, and then research them. Okay, if you have time. If you don't, then, whatever happens to you happens. Okay, I'm in the same situation. I am the victim or at the pleasure of many things in my life. We all are. We have to get through the day, but awareness is key. Okay, that's it. Soapbox dismounted. Okay, let's check in with Ashlee and see how she's doing. How are you?
I am good. I'm loving it in Boston. It is a great area. If you've never been, I
Nice.
highly recommend visiting.
I've only been out once a long time ago, but I didn't really get to explore the place too much.
Oh, yeah. No, I highly recommend if you get the chance to come out and visit. All of New England is just beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Those pictures you take are breathtaking, seriously.
Yeah,
They're really nice.
I love just walking around and exploring everywhere.
Yeah, that's a jealous moment for me when I see those, the wooden bridges and the canopies of, green trees, and yeah, it's you do a great job on those.
Yeah, it's I love the way New England is set up because I can go one way and then I'm at the ocean. I go another way and I'm at the mountain, and then another way I'm in
Wow.
a forest. And it's like, okay.
Yeah. And it seems like you keep finding places that you have a lot of solitude. There aren't a lot of people out there.
Yeah, I mean, I can go to the city of Boston and encounter a lot of people, or I can go and just be by myself in the middle of a forest.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what made you decide, I've been curious, to leave Milwaukee? I mean, not that they're, well, I'll just leave that. Hold on a second. I'm sorry, I freaked out. There's a huge spider. One second. Okay, I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm about to get it. Oh, God. Ugh. Wow. Okay. 1 second, I'll be right back to the mic. Yeah, very, very professional. Very sorry, I'm back now. Yeah, I have these sound panels in front of me to stop the voice echo, and on top of it, I have a eye level shelf as I'm sitting, kind of built into the wall. And so I put up there's a window in front of me. It has window coverings, but I put up a bed frame headboard, and I put a My Little Pony blanket on it for additional sound suppression. And this huge ass, big red, terrifying spider just crawled out from between the ties on the end of the blanket.
Of course it's hiding in My Little Pony.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think if you pop a My Little Pony, spiders are just going to come out. There's no, the live ones. I'm talking the real My Little Ponies because they are real.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Anyway, I'm sorry for the interruption.
Oh no, I would need to go kill a spider too. I mean,
yeah, I mean it's literally within reach. So it was something coming my way. Okay, what made you decide to leave Milwaukee and go out on all these adventures?
I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do with my life. I felt kind of stagnant at my first job. I kind of was like, I feel stuck. I didn't know what else I wanted to do. So I'm like, well, maybe if I tried a different job somewhere else. So I moved to Florida. And I realized that the Florida healthcare system is just absolutely fucking terrifying. So, yes,
really?
I don't recommend ever going in to see a doctor in Florida.
What happened?
I would say they're probably about like 5 to 7 years behind.
Oh.
Just testing wise, just everything wise. I was just floored. And a lot of times they just lack general care. So, yeah, if you ever get injured in Florida, like try to hold off and go back to Wisconsin. Is what my recommendation. Like if you're like if you're like really sick, be like, can we just go home? Can we really can I have the ambulance bill back to Wisconsin? Like I don't really care.
Oh,
right?
Funny. Yeah. Well, I mean that's good advice. Wow.
Yeah, I actually flew home to see my neurologist. Like that's how. Like I'm like I don't want to see somebody down here.
Oh wow. Yeah. Well, I will take that under advisement if I should have that opportunity to get sick in Florida. I don't know if that's really an opportunity. I guess it's more.
No, it's just
a bad luck
exactly.
draw.
It's more of just a caution thing. If it so happens, if you can, just wait it out until you get home. I mean, I don't recommend dying over it, but if you can wait, please wait.
Yeah, I pretty much wait out all medical situations. I'm not a big goer to the doctor, but I should more often. I think I'm at the point where they want to do intrusive alien things.
Of course.
To
like
me.
Once you reach that age, they're like, okay, you need like the colonoscopy, you need the like invasive scope everywhere, and like you need those yearly tests of every single thing under the sun, and you're like, nah. I'm good. Yeah,
I'm
like
feeling
I'm doing
okay
with life.
Yeah, I mean, if there are indications of something, like, if I sit down and and I look down, it looks like somebody poured a glass of cranberry juice in the toilet or something. I'd be, first of all, I'd check that out. I'd be walking around work going, anybody dump some cranberry juice in the toilet? And then if I got to know, I'd think, well, did anybody go home sick? Like really sick? And then I might go in. No, actually, I'd wait a couple more days until
I'd want to see if it happened again.
It could
if it was just be like an off day. I may have eaten like a lot of red food, or something may have upset my stomach. So
Sure.
I'll just one off it and see. I like to see.
Yeah. Maybe it was Halloween.
Ate something weird.
Yeah, like an apple with a razor blade in it, because those are coming up. That's coming up pretty quickly.
I'll write it off as just a weird experience, and we'll see. If it happens again, and then maybe I'll be have a legitimate concern.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I'll be needing to list this podcast under the health category on iTunes. Maybe.
Right?
Maybe holistic. I don't know if there is a category like that. Yeah. Just kind of like feel your, I'm like in touch with my chi about my, I don't know. Let's make this about you. I don't think this needs to be about my butthole. That's another podcast.
Yeah. I mean,
damn you, woman.
But yeah, no. So yeah, I couldn't decide what I wanted to do with my life. And so after Florida, I was like, I'll just become a traveling microbiologist. And so what happens is I choose contracts where I want to live and where I want to work.
Awesome. That is so cool, Ashlee. It's amazing. Has it turned out to be all the adventure you wanted? Were there surprises or stories along the way that happened to you that were like, oh, this, not necessarily bad ones, but anything that you thought, oh, I didn't anticipate
no, I guess
this.
Not. Florida was an interesting time and place, but moving to Boston was relatively quick. Like they were like, oh yeah, we need you to move in like 2 weeks. And I'm like, I have to get rid of everything in my apartment, somehow
Oh,
pack limited amount of stuff into a Jetta and move to Boston with a cat. And, I had to downsize everything and I had to figure out where to put all my stuff in a new apartment because I can't take my bed, I can't take my couch. Like, basically,
wow.
what? Oh, I
Wow.
basically
Now,
can only
go
take
ahead.
a limited amount of stuff. So, like, I took my clothes, a laptop, my iPad. I took my PS4, of course, because I knew I was going to play video games. So
Well, yeah.
I came with like limited amount of stuff. I had to decide what's important.
Oh, okay. Sure. I think maybe as a contract worker who travels, maybe a good
Yes,
investment would be a trailer hitch. Head down to U-Haul, get one of those. Those are cool because then with those you can
yes,
like tow your stuff. Even with a Jetta, one of those smaller like
yes. I was
$20
thinking
a
about
day
that, and also
jobs.
probably investing in like a decent roof rack as well. So that way, even if I wanted like a little like thing to kind of
Oh,
shove stuff on the roof.
yeah, those are cool. Or
Exactly.
those things that look like a photon torpedo that you put on the roof. Yeah. For you listeners who don't know what a photon torpedo is, you can just look one up. Maybe photon torpedo Khan. That would probably have a cool black shiny like almost looks like a lozenge on your roof. Yeah. But yeah, I mean I guess part of the podcast is me solving problems. So, when I spit out these ideas
Yeah,
like this, you're
exactly.
just going to have
So
to take them
I've
and go
definitely
with
thought
them.
about it, like, editing my Jetta. Yep. About the Jetta.
Well, pimping it, pimp it out a little bit. Sweet. Yeah, cool. So you showed up in Boston, you had your cat, you had some clothes, you had a laptop and a PS4. So far it sounds like everything a person could need.
Exactly.
Maybe some bedding
Oh yeah, no,
in
I
there.
did bring my own
Go ahead.
bedding,
Nice.
because I needed something comforting from home. So
Yeah. I can tell you I am not going to be cozying up to this My Little Pony blanket anytime soon.
no, I wouldn't either. That's not something I'd want to cozy up to,
Got to no, got to shake it out.
especially with all the spiders up in there.
That's what I was talking about shaking it out. Don't get me wrong. Um, well, that's cool. So did you move into a furnished apartment or was it just what you could take?
At first, I was living in a hotel, an extended stay hotel,
Oh,
but now I'm living in like in a furnished apartment.
oh, that's awesome though.
So, and this is why I'm using shitty Wi-Fi, because everybody else is like living in a furnished apartment and we all share this like joint Wi-Fi bullshit.
Yeah, I've heard of that. That's like a co-op
It
Wi-Fi.
is.
So can you stumble into people's folders and
I
stuff?
haven't tried, but I'm sure I could,
Yeah, it'd be worth a good
right? See
go.
what they have.
Just maybe go to 192 168 0.2 and see if you land in the first guy's folder or
I
whatever.
can only see myself like
All those
stumbling
standard.
upon some like child porn, and it's like, oh, geez.
Ooh,
Back out,
yeah,
back out.
yeah. Abort. Yeah, okay. I retract the suggestion. Although if you do go down that road, Ashley, just we can definitely schedule a follow up call
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna.
to
I'm definitely
discuss
gonna
your
be calling
findings.
IT. Like, what did I just find?
Hey, I found My Little Pony, except they're real ponies.
Oh no.
I guess that's if you get the call to do consulting work in
Uh,
Tijuana. Yeah, wow. Sorry, old school, nasty talk.
yeah, I don't miss like IT. I mean, I do in a way, but I don't at the same time.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, you were great at it.
Oh yeah,
The support and the consulting. So, but now you're in the bio world. That's really neat.
yeah. I love my microbes.
Well, you should. They're friendly little
They
fellas.
are. They're mostly friendly.
Yeah.
They're mostly good for you.
Yeah, I heard a good podcast on whether or not, I think it was on, there's a science podcast, and they were on a mini hiatus. So they played one of their sister podcasts, part of their episode. I'll post this all in the show notes. I'll find out which one it was. But anyway, they were talking about whether or not to sit down on a toilet seat. And and the woman whose podcast it was, or was the main host of it, called, it was something like, I'm going to make this up, 10 to 20 microbiologists to talk with them about, okay, what what are the ramifications of this? Because someone had called the show and said, hey, I sit down, but people shun me because I'm a sitter. And so they did some research, and they said, what's the percentage of, or what do you think is the percentage of people who actually sit on the toilet as opposed to squatting, or, putting toilet paper down or whatever? And the woman, the sitter said, oh, I don't know, it's got to be like 40% of people sit and everybody else squats. And it turned out it was something like 4% of people sit, everybody else squats or something. Anyway, it was interesting because they were talking about the microbes, would just pass through the toilet paper like it's air at that point. And that but it doesn't really matter, because even though you can swab a toilet seat and there's fecal matter on it and, herpes and whatever, unless you have an open wound, you're probably going to be okay, because most people don't sit. Here we are again at the asshole, but asshole down, like perched like a rocket. I mean, anyway, so, and that made me
Oh,
think
I'm
of you,
glad that
Ashlee.
like toilet seats and asses make things of you think of me. No, but
Yeah, I'm like,
really,
oh,
oh,
I wonder
Ashley, I
how
wonder how
she's
she's
doing.
doing. No, um, and for most people that work in microbiology, like we're probably like the people that aren't actually out scrubbing our hands 24. We're probably like more people that aren't afraid of the microbes, or like washing our hands 24/7, or using hand sanitizer all the time.
Right.
The toilet seat theory always like fascinates me because, people are so afraid of germs. But I mean, if you squat back, like what's that going to really do? Because every time that your butt is exposed to air, you're exposing it to bacteria anyways. So what's the difference between like me sitting on a toilet seat in a public restroom? Every time I like take down my pants, like I'm exposing it to like bacteria that's just like floating around.
Yeah, and that they had even said that a lot of the microbiologists that they talked to said there's actually kind of a sphere or a layer in the air of the microbes anyway. I assume that's because they don't weigh a
Exactly.
lot;
All
they
those
get blown
fans and
around.
stuff that are blowing.
Exactly, and plus
Yeah.
the splashdown effect. So if you're hovering and all of a sudden,
Well,
you volcano, it's going
yeah,
to all
or
come
like you're
back up at
peeing
you
and like,
anyway.
because we all know that when people pee, it they're not really they're not very cleanly. They're not very clean about it. It's all spattering everywhere and stuff. So like all it takes is that one drop to hit the
Sure.
toilet seat,
Yeah.
and like that bacteria is just gonna like spatter up anyways. So whatever you just did just like ruined you're trying to, I mean, if you really wanted to be cleanliness like about this, you'd carry a Clorox wipe, you'd Clorox wipe the toilet seat, and then you'd sit down.
Right.
That would
And
be
that's assuming that your legs don't hit the side, or
exactly.
if you're a guy, you don't bounce onto the front or, inside.
Exactly. Honestly, people have to realize that bacteria live on our skin. There's already bacteria on your ass. So
Right.
um
And on your arm, because they were talking about, like the outside of the arm is basically equal to the ass.
yeah, when you wipe, there's bacteria on your hand. So
So you're almost adding bacteria when you wipe.
there's bacteria constantly, and bacteria is good for you. If there was no bacteria actually on your ass or in your ass, you would actually have a problem. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? That would actually be a legit problem. So, bacteria is good.
Eh,
You want it there. So,
sure, it's beneficial. I mean, what would you rather have? Beneficial bacteria in your ass, or like a Clorox wipe in your ass? I'd have to
I,
go
I would too.
bacteria
I
every
would go
time.
with bacteria because when you don't have that good bacteria in your ass, you get C. diff. And C. diff is a very nasty diarrhea that is very hard to treat. So,
What is this
C.
called?
diff,
C.
yep.
diff?
Clostridium difficile.
Ooh,
Basically,
okay.
all your good bacteria is gone, and this nasty bacteria just like overrides it. It's
Whoa.
nasty, but I mean, if you don't have good bacteria, because the good bacteria actually helps like your digestion too. So if you don't have good bacteria, there's like nothing to help with the food digestion, and basically you're just gonna have constant diarrhea.
Yeah, I want my.
I think people like
Go ahead.
solid stools. So
I think so.
at least
I mean,
I think
yeah.
most I mean, personally, I do, but I think most people do.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's a small faction. Most of them are on Twitter who really dig the liquid stool, and that's just a deep dark corner of the interwebs that frankly I don't want to
Yeah,
go
I
to.
wouldn't want to go there either.
Although you might go there accidentally in your apartment building if you stumble out into folder land, so
Oh,
be
okay.
very careful.
No,
Now, oh no, that's good. Symbiotes, they're our little friends doing their
exactly.
jobs.
It's when, it's when the bad bacteria like overcomes. Like if you have like an open cut, I mean, clearly you should be taking care of it. If I have an open cut, I'll just be like washing it and taking care of it because, bad bacteria can overpower and cause a problem. But I mean, for the most part, like if you killed off all the bacteria in your skin, you would become like, you would actually die because you'd become immunocompromised. So like the good bacteria actually helps fight off bad bacteria too. So, I mean, it is like a symbiotic relationship. Like the good bacteria helps like fight
Sure.
off the bad bacteria. It keeps it in balance. Like good bacteria keeps it in check. So
It's kind of like life in general is good, but there are a few bad
exactly,
apples out there, razor blade
exactly.
or not.
For the most part, everybody's giving you the good candy, but then there's like the assholes that are trying to put like acid in the runts. So
Yeah, yeah. Ooh, hadn't heard that one, but I believe it. I think I think the razor blade thing was an urban legend that had never
until
been
some
proved to happen, but
But I think the
acid I
razor
can
blade
see.
one was like a myth until somebody's like, I'm tired of hearing this myth, so I'm going to make it happen. Do you know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah. No doubt.
I,
Oh,
I
sure.
still,
Yeah, and you can't really blame the myth. I mean, you can blame it a little bit for giving people without imaginations some really terrible things to do. People with really good imaginations who are going to do terrible things can come up with them just like that. It's like, hey, like the first guy who thought of doing acid in an apple or whatever. But the copycats, they're out there. It's kind of like saying, oh, video games or movies drove Jimmy to take an axe to his parents or whatever. Yeah, I bet he would have found another incentive somewhere along the line.
oh yeah, no, I'm sure he would have taken an axe to his family at some other point.
Sure, or a lawnmower, although that would be harder. But you'd have to get
Oh
them when
yeah, I
they're like
prefer the
suntanning.
axe.
Yeah, exactly.
The axe is easier.
It is. It's a versatile weapon. It's been around for a long time.
Plus, like, you can take it in the house. The lawnmower, it has to be like, mom and dad have to be out on the lawn. The axe, you can just use like watching TV in the bed.
Yeah, especially when they're
Not,
when they're
not,
sleeping.
I'm not con- I'm not condoning using an
No,
axe in the
no,
house, but
no,
you know.
no, no. This podcast is no friend of violence. It's
No, no, not at all.
just about the mechanics of it. Should it happen? Um,
Yes, exactly.
all right. So you get out to Boston. You get in the apartment. You get the shared Wi-Fi. All right. So now, clearly at work, because you are a gypsy, and I say that in a good way, in it, nothing derogatory meant for the
Yeah.
gypsies out there who are listening. Um, but since, you're out in the world, you're doing your thing, you get to Boston, you get to the work environment. The work environment is certainly a stand-in for school, and the fact that there are people there you like, there are people you don't. Maybe there's a little sexual tension going on. Maybe there's some people that you drift toward because you're similar to them. There are other people that there's the person that you could do without, but you're professional and you work with them. So that's like an instant pseudo social structure for you. Has it been easy to kind of commute that into like a personal social structure, or do you go to meetups, or do you just not care about that kind of stuff?
So I haven't hung out with like a lot of people in my job, but what I do is I meet people online, or what I do is like I've broken outside of my shell and I usually go out, I usually go to things alone. So I've gone to like movies or bars or something alone, and I kind of like break outside of my shell and if people talk to me, I talk to them back, or things like that. Like I went and saw a
Cool.
movie by myself, and afterwards, like we discussed like how we felt about the movie, and it was actually kind of refreshing to go see a movie by myself and then have a conversation with somebody I really didn't know about the movie afterwards.
Yeah.
And
Cool. Like at the movie or just
yeah,
like
at the
in a,
movie. So
okay.
after like the movie
Gotcha.
theater, we just kind of stood around afterwards and like talked about it and everything like that. And it was kind of refreshing that I broke outside of my shell. It kind of forced me to be like, you have to like step up and be your own person and force yourself to you know I don't know, be more.
Yeah.
It forces you to realize that things aren't just gonna like come in front of you, and things aren't just gonna be thrown in front of you. You have to like make an effort.
Right. And actually, to be the person that is throwing something in front of someone else is really great for them, for the other person, because ultimately everybody just wants to connect with somebody and have a conversation. And certainly what this podcast is about. But I found that too, whether it's at a coffee shop or whatever. Somebody can be just totally head down, engrossed in their work, eyes averted from people. And then they drop something off their table and you mention something about it. You end up talking to that person for 15 or 20 minutes about everything because it was just that one little icebreaker thing that got them going. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
And it
it's
is
some
it's not as big of a risk as what a lot of people think.
yeah, I agree. It's there's something like refreshing about that, as just something, that one line to break free of like, hey, like that one part in the movie, blah blah blah, and you're like, oh my gosh, and then it keeps rolling. Or when I go to like a local coffee shop, somebody just says something, and then you guys like talk for like 15 or 20 minutes. It's nice to just have a random conversation with a random stranger. And being in a different area, it forces you to do that. Otherwise, you're going to be constantly alone. And I
Sure.
guess being in Milwaukee, I knew people, so like I was never really forced to have I was never forced to like kind of make my own conversations with people. I could kind of just do my own thing and go on with my day.
Yeah. You didn't really need to cultivate that skill set, but it is a skill set. And it sounds kind of premeditated to use the word skill set, but it's not like a trickery or it's just simply a tool, how to number one. I mean, the hardest part is the initial engagement, the conversation. Then you've always been, great at that. So once you get past that, hey, how you doing thing, I'm sure you have a
Yeah,
blast with that.
it's just that initial stage. It's like, I don't know. It really forced me to like open up and realize that you know you like learn like a new skill. It just makes you realize, I don't know, it just made me like open my eyes and be like, wow, I have to like change some of my like attitudes about stuff. So
Right. And of course you've got a different cat than when I knew you,
no,
right?
I
You
still have
had
the same cat. It's the one that I have Meows, because that's the one that when I lived with John, we had him too.
Oh,
So
okay.
he's been
Wow.
with me
Okay.
everywhere,
Cool.
Milwaukee to Florida to Boston.
Aw,
He likes traveling.
that's good. Yeah.
He's a really good car cat.
That's cool. He doesn't take off when you
Nope.
get gas or anything, does he?
He likes to go for walks. I stop at rest areas and we walk around the rest areas, and he eats grass.
Oh. Get those beneficial grass microbes going.
Exactly. Got to get that gut bacteria all nice and healthy.
Does he like your new haircut?
Uh, he does, because he likes to lick hair. So now that my
Uh,
hair is shorter, he can actually lick the hair. Before my hair was too long, so it upset him.
oh, okay.
Mhm.
See, I thought you were going to go a different direction, so you surprised me. I thought you were going to say, "Oh, he likes hair so much, and now it's shorter." You got pissed off, but he's more than adapted. He's like digging it.
Yeah, because now it's like not, before it was so long, it would like he would kind of go like, make that kind of noise, like gag on
Yeah,
the hair. Now it's like, oh, it's short. I don't have to gag on the hair. It's like, oh, stupid cat.
yeah, yeah. I think gag on the hair is another folder you're going to find on your network there at that crazy Gomorrah
I
apartment
know,
building
right?
that apparently you live in.
I'm just gonna find like a whole gag on hair. I'm gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna avoid that folder,
Move
right?
on. Let's see. Quicken History 2015. Trip to Malibu, gag on hair. No, moving on. Donkey. Nope. Kids, nope. Yeah.
Pass, pass,
Oh
pass.
man. Wow. Well, that's good. So it sounds like, you're getting out there, you're having fun on the social side, doing the meeting people. The work itself is
Yeah, I've
how's
met
that
some
going?
new friends in Boston, which I absolutely love. They're great. I have some friends coming to visit me next week. I have a really good friend, a Derby friend of mine, coming to visit me in Boston next weekend, and I'm excited to show her around. She's never been to New England, so yeah, we're gonna have a
Oh, cool.
blast. My mom, she came and visited me. She absolutely loves it up here, and she's like, I want to come back up before you leave, so she plans on visiting me as well.
Oh,
My
good.
contract ends December 1st, but so I don't know where I'm going to be after that. So basically, how this works is about 4 weeks before my contract end date, they start kind of throwing me job opportunities, and I kind of decide where I want to go. So they'll be like, "Do you want to
Oh,
go to
sure.
Fargo, North Dakota?" I'm gonna be like, "Well, no, because it's like December 1st. I don't want to go to North Dakota. Like, f that."
No.
There
Yeah. Unless you have car trouble and pull over and there's a big suitcase full of money
unless
glinting
they,
in the
yeah.
snow.
I mean, I would probably go to Fargo, North Dakota if they offer me a really good like pay bump. The plus side of traveling is that they literally pay for like they pay for my apartment. They pay for they pay me like $300 a week for food, and they give me a car allowance. So like I don't pay rent like I don't pay rent in the city of Boston.
That is cool.
Like I don't even know how much rent is I don't even know how much rent is in Boston, but I don't want to know either
Wow.
because it's one of like the most expensive cities up there with like San Francisco and New York City. So
Oh, I bet. The gentrification over the decades has taken its toll on the
yeah, all these big cities are becoming like notoriously like terrible. Like the cost for like a rundown shit house is insane. Like in Boston, like for like a bedroom in like a shitty house, it's like 1,500 a month.
wow.
So
Sure. Yeah.
I don't even know.
Yeah. Well, I think it's amazing. And, I have the utmost respect for you for doing the consulting thing and traveling, especially like you said, you had the opportunity to do it and you just went and did it. Now, I don't know if you want to do the Fargo 30 Days of Night, part two thing. uh,
I feel like I would just like if I ended up in Fargo, I feel like I'd probably gain like 50 pounds because all I would do is drink like a case of beer a night and play like PS4 games. I don't even think that there were people my age in Fargo.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they flee or if they're there. And this isn't, shit on Fargo. It'd be cool to have somebody from Fargo or Bemidji on to kind of talk about what you do there. I mean,
Yeah, I
the stereotype is, drink and fuck, which is certainly not a foreign concept to us because we live in Wisconsin.
yeah,
So
no, I mean
it's not.
I understand the drinking concept and stuff, but I had a coworker who went to school in North Dakota, and she literally said that her college days were drinking and stuff. Because like all there was to drink, and especially in wintertime, like all you did was drink in a house. She said the cost of living there
Yeah.
was cheap though. Like you could
Oh,
get
I
like a
bet.
4 bedroom apartment for like $600. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, no shit. It's North Dakota. Nobody wants to live in
Right.
North Dakota in the winter.
Yeah. Right. I mean, you've got enough land to build a sprawling,
I could probably build a
building for cheap.
I could probably build a mansion there for like 200,000, probably less.
Sure. Yeah, you could have a McMansion like nobody's business,
Mhm.
full of well, never mind. Um,
Full of pedo vibrators.
ooh, oh my goodness. Edit.
I know, right?
Yeah.
You know, I was referring to the pedo stickers. The stickers.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
I
Yeah, it was a good callback. No, it was a good callback. I liked it.
no.
Yeah, I had already planned to edit that out, so there was no callback included in the actual thing. So what that's about is the someone. some at one point who, as a joke, planted a little guy called Pedo or Pedo, depending on your
Pedo.
choice of
I
E.
guess pedo.
Yeah, yeah, Pedo Bear stickers around his workplace. I will not name him. We did earlier, but I will edit that out. And
Cough.
yeah, but as a young strappy lad fresh off the internet and into the workplace, there were some choices made. But anyway, that's what that's referring to. So I loved it, and I should have caught it, but I knowing I was going to talk to you, and you mentioned you were going to get some wine. I did put some vodka in this Crystal Light here. Oh yes, going to take a moment and have some.
Yep, I love wine.
And I'm back. Yeah, me too. And yeah, I need to make it more of an active part of the discussion process because I get so into it, I forget to drink. Nobody wants to hear a non-drinking me.
Yeah, there's a lot of podcasts that you hear that's like, all right, we're gonna open up beer, and you hear the people drinking.
Yeah, and that's okay. I mean, if that's what it is, sometimes it's a part of the show in a different way. Like one of my favorite podcasts is put on by a friend of mine named Joel and a couple of his friends. He lives in Milwaukee, and one of the guys lives in Canada, and another guy lives in England. And so they'll talk about
Oh,
games, video games, and then they'll talk about like the beer of the day choice, and then they will talk about music. So it can be a long podcast. They've pretty much gotten it down to an hour, an hour and a half. It used to be a little bit longer, and I couldn't listen to them all, even though I have a 47-minute commute one way. So two ways I could almost get through an episode, but now it's a lot easier. And that's cool because they're not blasted. They're like, oh, I found this cool beer. Here's this beer. If you're interested, come on the site. You can check out the beer. I turn them on to
oh,
Untapped, the
yeah.
the application, the game. And so they've been just posting, different beers all over the place on that. But yeah, I mean, that's more of like kind of a side bit of what that's about. It's not like, hey, we're going to get five guys in a room and get smashed and think we're funny and then
Okay.
make people listen to that. So some people are good at it. I wouldn't be good at it. I wouldn't even be
See,
near the
I mean, I
microphone.
appreciate podcasts with the inclusion of alcohol and stuff, but then sometimes it gets really obnoxious. Like, I've listened to a lot of true crime
Yeah.
podcasts, but there's one podcast that I feel like the alcohol like takes away from like the podcast because it's like constant like cracking open a beer and then like the theories that just become like so like outrageous. You're just like, shut up. Like, that makes absolutely no sense. Your logic is. And then I stopped listening to them because I'm like, your theories are just outrageous. Stop drinking.
Yeah, it's the point where if you have a friend who's the designated driver, and then 2 days later, people are talking, going, "Yeah, wasn't that a cool night the other night? Oh, it was so much fun. I said I love you, man, to everybody because that guy's so cool." And the designated driver friend is like, "Yeah, it really tanked
I
at
know.
about that point." And I had another 2 hours to sit there, until
Yeah,
I had
you
to
always
drive you
replay that
assholes
that
home.
night, and you're like, no, that night was terrible. You guys were absolutely terrible, and that was a really bad idea. Like that really bad idea in college, where I thought it was a really great idea to spill, I think, Captain Morgan and Coke down the stairs, so that way we can have a water slide. In theory, it was good, but then the following day, it was not because, well, yeah, it was
Yeah,
very
and you're like,
sticky
"Oh
the
my
next
god, what
day,
have I
and
done?"
it sucked. In theory, no.
No. Yeah, even the base theory was wrong, which is which is kind of like some of the memes that are going around. It's like if Group X really thinks that taking away everybody's Y is the thing to do, then why don't they think that Z being in A B
Yeah, I'm like,
is
what?
a good thing?
I'm trying.
Yeah, I
I'm
started at the
trying
wrong
to.
letter. I should have
Okay.
started way down. Yeah, yeah. But I just mean a false premise can really, make things seem logical if you don't put any thought into it. Like if
Okay,
you're
yeah, I
drunk or
get it.
maybe, browsing. Those are both the same because your mind is off. And it's like, somebody tell me what to think. And here's a thing that'll tell me what to think. Here, can I have an instant reaction to this thing? Yes. And let's see, is everybody say, okay, it's everybody saying this thing is evil. Evil. Okay, move on. I'm busy. I gotta go browse some folders in my apartment building now. But I'm sorry, Ashlee, this is about
Oh
you.
no, that's
I didn't mean to
fine.
dominate
I
the
like
last
yeah,
45
I like
seconds.
the podcast so far. It's gone like 80 different topics.
Absolutely. Yeah, we didn't really have a specific thing to touch on. You signed up and that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's another way you're getting out there. You're like, hey, I'll do that. Now granted, you and I have a history, so hopefully there's a safety net there. You're not just like wandering into this weird. Well, okay, you are wandering into a weird thing, but it's a known weird thing.
Yeah, I know what I was getting into, so
Yeah, exactly. So, got anything you want to share that's coming up? That now, although you really did, you said the 4 week deadline to know the so basically at the end of this month, right? If I'm right, it's September. So no, October. No, at the end of
beginning of
October.
November. Yeah,
Okay,
end of October, beginning of November. So they've already my first deadline. My contract in Boston was actually supposed to end September 22nd, but they asked me to extend. This place in
nice.
Boston actually is trying to hire me, so they want me to stay full time.
Mm.
Uh, they're actually trying to like beg me. They have me doing a lot of their like validations. They're trying to implement, like they got me like trying to implement stuff. Like they have me working with their infectious disease doctors. Um, they have me. There's a student coming on. They have me training their new student. Like,
Wow.
yeah, they have. They're like they think I'm really smart.
Ah, those silly bastards.
They think I mean, I appreciate it. Like it makes me feel good that like they appreciate my knowledge and
Right.
stuff that I can bring into the lab.
Yeah.
But I'm also impressed that even though this lab is a little bit smaller than what I'm used to, this lab is more advanced than what I came from in Florida.
Oh, okay. So
So
they're sort of systems of efficiency because they're so small that everything that's
like
in there
I would
has to
feel
be
more
really good.
yeah, I'd feel comfortable going to a doctor in Boston than I would in still in like Florida. Like Boston is like on par with like Wisconsin's logic of stuff. Like they're doing
Oh,
the
okay.
same thing as like Wisconsin. So
Nice. So they're being scientific about it. They're
yeah,
plus, of course, in Boston they have an embedded culture of an economy of space. So
that
they've always had to make do with a smaller space, at least in our
that
lifetimes.
too. And that brings up another point too about Boston is that here the climate in general is that they really care about people. Like the political climate here is very progressive. Uh,
Hmm.
they're not like I've yet to meet like a Republican here. I mean, granted, right now they have a Republican governor, but it's a Republican governor with like progressive policies. Like,
Yeah.
they signed like marijuana is now recreational. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, marijuana is also decriminalized. I mean, it has to be since. I mean, it's been decriminalized for since 2012, I think. So,
So now to back up, are you saying that marijuana can be used
oh yeah, you can
recreationally?
have plants. You can just smoke.
No,
It's
I mean
recreational.
you can use
Yep.
it. A person could use it for something other than medicinal purposes, like
Yep.
ever. I didn't know that.
Yep.
Oh wait, never mind. I remember the 80s now. Okay, now it all comes back to
Right
me.
before the war on drugs.
I yeah, I was trying to be funny, but it didn't work. So
No,
sorry.
it's okay. Before the war on drugs, though. Yeah. Yeah. Before we before we spent all that money on the war on drugs. Sigh. But
I know. You know what we could do? We could build roads. That'd be something.
yeah,
Repair them, maybe.
with all that money that
Bridges.
we spend with the war on drugs, you know how many roads could be rebuilt?
At least
How
several.
how
I'm
many
gonna go out on a
potholes could
limb.
be filled?
Whoa, pothole. Yeah, well played. I got you.
Yeah,
Well, that's good that the environment is like that there. I mean, that certainly you. So I'm sure right now you have you have decisions to make, and especially if they're getting you involved in long-term projects that are on their 18
I
month
know.
project plan. It's like, well, if I
Um,
bail, then this student that I'm teaching had better swing in and pick up my
yeah.
absence or whatever.
Before I quit traveling, though, I said that there were a few places I'd like to go. Um, like I want to go to the Pacific Northwest, so Washington or Oregon are on my list.
Oh,
Um,
sweet.
I would like to probably go to like Arizona or Nevada, even though it's hot as fuck. But
Yeah.
I'd like to go see it and
I
try it.
Yeah, I think well, I mean, especially since Breaking Bad and also being a motorcycle rider, I the Southwest really appeals to me to just get on and ride out there and, have a buddy in case I break down so I don't like turn into a piece
Right?
of bacon on the side of the road in like 10 minutes. But yeah. But, Albuquerque or that area, I'm not really interested in the Phoenix area at all. But I've been in Tucson several times and down on the border there, Nogales area, and I mean that's very attractive to me. Be like the dude hanging out in some adobe home, like the nearest neighbor is some
Yeah,
ramshackle
it's it's
gas
fascinating.
station, and then yeah, yeah, it really is. Yeah, that's cool. And also like Vancouver or something like that, Seattle, Vancouver area. It's kind of a broad area, but
That's why I said I would like to go, somewhere in the Pacific Northwest, because I mean, all that area is supposedly very beautiful. Somewhere in like the Southwest, probably somewhere in like the Colorado area would be nice too.
oh yeah.
AKA all the areas with like legal marijuana, but I mean, it all kind of depends on what's open at the time where it's up that my like contract is up. So, I kind of really don't have that much of a say. At the time when I was applying for my
Yeah.
Boston job, there was a job in Philadelphia, there was a job in South Carolina, and then there was the Boston job. And I kind of said I would take the first job that would offer it to me. So I applied for all three of those jobs. And Philadelphia actually contacted me first. When Boston contacted me back, I was like, Philadelphia or Boston? And I was like, man, I want to go to Boston.
Yeah. I can see how it'd be a hard decision, although you almost got to give it to Boston for, MIT and Harvard
Yeah.
and the vibe of that a college town like that brings and your profession and your
Oh,
general
yeah.
personality. I think
I
Boston's a
fell in
better
love with
fit.
Boston as soon as I got here. It's it's like perfect. It reminds me like the I love the fact that people are so like politically active and that people care about like other people, like care about the way money is being spent, and they care about the environment. Like people here, like they rarely use plastic bags here. Um, what else do they do? Yeah, it's just like fascinating, like
Oh,
how much people care. People go out and vote all the time. I don't know. It just yeah.
yeah. I just bought an Insta crate, and it's a folding crate, and I take it into Costco, or I have it so I can put my groceries in there. And I think it only took 450,000 plastic bags to make the Instacrate. So I think by the time I'm like retiring, I will be halfway to, you know, making my zero footprint for the plastic bags. I'm just saying. They had to kill things to make this Instacrate, but I'm not going to talk about that either. But there okay, there were child laborers involved. They weren't. It wasn't made
But
in
as
this
long as you
country.
feel good about yourself.
I do. I really do. I think I'm cool, and I show it to people. Like I accidentally, quoties, bring it into Starbucks with me and set it on the chair across from me, and people are like, "Hey, what is that? What is that rectangular slab?" And I say, "Well, let me expand this for you." And they're like, "You could put groceries from Costco in there, can't you?" Yeah, I do. So it's good. Hey, buy in bulk, another good thing to do, because then it's less packaging
That
overall.
is also another thing about Boston is that they don't have any big name retailers in the city. So you won't find a Walmart, and you won't find a Target, and you won't find like a Costco.
But what about
You
a Whole
will
Foods?
find. Is there a Whole Foods nearby?
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't know. I'm gonna have to fact
I
check
think there
this.
is. There is a Whole Foods.
Whole Foods Boston. Oh my goodness! Look at that.
Okay.
There are three of them. Cambridge Street over in
Okay.
Charles River Plaza, one on Harrison Avenue, and then one on
Okay.
Westland Avenue. But I'm having
Okay.
fun. But they are they are within reach of the major universities. So just by Fenway Park, there are like
Okay.
three of them. That's good. Ooh,
Sorry. There's a
no,
cat.
meows. Hey, meows. That's
Yep.
it, right? Did I remember the name?
I tried to keep him
Yeah,
out.
good. Is he licking your hair right now? Wait, you know what? Don't answer that. If it's an uncomfortable
No,
question,
he's just meowing.
uh,
He's
you
just
you don't have
meowing.
to answer. Good. Yeah. He's like, hey, you've been doing something weird, talking into the air for far
I
too
know.
long.
He's like, just quit talking to yourself.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Talk to
much what he
me.
does. Like if I'm on the phone, he's like, meow, meow, bite, 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 bite. And it's like, okay, fine, I'll get off the
Mm.
phone. Damn cat. Yeah,
Well,
I gotta pet the
priorities.
cat.
So as a mic, now this brings up something, and I know we're at the hour mark. If you need to go, just let me know. Okay.
Okay.
But I do have a question. Now, as a person in the biological sciences and a person with a cat, now I assume you know some toxic plasmosis,
Oh yeah, Toxoplasmosis
toxo
gondii.
toxoplasmosis. Yeah. So
Yeah,
that
where
whole
you
thing, you know, like, are you thinking you're gonna get batshit crazy from the cat?
no.
Good. Then I feel better knowing that you feel that way.
Yeah, I'm not concerned. I think that again, it's also another thing that you just need to be mindful of. If the cat scratches me, I'm just gonna go and or if the cat bites me, I'm just gonna go and like, wash my hands. Um,
Right. Makes sense.
it's kind of like sometimes like I see wound cultures come in where it's like somebody has like somebody punched somebody in the mouth, and like all of a sudden they'll have like a
Ooh.
wound abscess on their hand, and it's like it's been infected by somebody's mouth flora. So like I'll
Yeah.
see this bacteria called Eikenella corrodens, and that's actually just human mouth bacteria. So basically, that person punched somebody in the mouth, and so the person's teeth, basically infect
Sure.
them.
Penetrated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the person just didn't go and like you could literally just like stop infections if you just go and kind of just wash your hands with soap and water.
Sure. For at least what, 15 seconds
Yeah,
is the recommended.
you don't even
Yeah.
have to.
So 30. Let's say
You don't even
30.
have to. Even if you just use like water. I mean, at this point, like just doing a basic cleanse of stuff. Um, a
Yeah.
lot of times, like I work with bacteria.
Interesting.
I don't even like wear like I'm not even afraid to like not use like gloves. I mean, because it's like I don't know. I'm just so like natural
Yeah.
around bacteria. I wash my hands. You know.
Right. And what's the now again, I'm making numbers up here, but I had heard that people touch their nose or their mouth a total of, something like 3,000 times a
Oh
day,
yeah,
right?
I think
Something something a
they
lot.
touch their face
Yeah.
like I think every 30 seconds. Is that it or something
That
like
makes
that?
sense. I was just doing that right
Yeah,
now.
because you do it
Yeah.
subconsciously. I think it's like somebody touches their face every 30 seconds. Um,
Sure. Or put an ear or a note, and rubs their eye, some entry point to your
Yeah.
biome. You're touching that often.
And
Yeah. I put a T on there. Did you hear that? Often, because you're in Boston,
well,
and
pe-
I thought I
people
should
don't
do
say the
that.
T in like boss, like, so people don't say the
Oh, okay.
T's or their R's. So a lot of times, what did they say? Like, they say, like, instead of saying refer, they go refer, refer,
Yep.
or
Sure.
they forget the R's, and or like Florida, Florida, they go Florida, Florida, and
Yep.
it's like flat, what? So sometimes, like, I have to say what because they'll forget the R's in like all their words. So I'm like, what did you say?
Yeah.
Like, and then they'll repeat that, and I'm like, what? I don't understand what you're saying. And it's like, oh, there's an R in there. Also,
Sure. Yeah. I have a guy at work from Boston, and yeah, and it's no detraction from him, but occasionally a word will come up that's a real word that doesn't have an R, but he meant the word that has an R, but he's just not saying it. I can't think of one right now, but then it blows you away because you're like, are you, did you really just say that? Like, he's like, yeah. And he says it again. You're like, from my perspective, you just, said this thing. He's like, no, I know. I said, and then he'll like switch into Midwestern, the radio voice, and say the R
I know,
or
I love
try
it when they
to.
try to say the R,
It
and
is
it's like,
funny.
no, it doesn't. Like, they can't say the R, and it's like, you guys don't say R's. You guys, like, totally, like, they forget that letter of the alphabet. And I'm like, it's cute. And then, what else do they say? They say wicked, but they use the word wicked as like an adjective. Like, I went to the baseball game was just wicked crazy. Like, I went to
Oh,
this,
sure.
like,
Yeah.
concert, and it was just wicked insane. And you're like, what? Wicked insane? Like, wicked insane?
Well, they still have a lot of the British connection. And I
Yeah,
much prefer.
that's what they said. It's a lot of.
Go ahead.
It's like the deep English. It's the old English, like, British, like, connection.
Right. Yeah.
But
I mean, I
the
like it.
word wicked.
It's much more fun because here in Wisconsin, the only adjective is fucking. It's the only one. It's like, oh, this fucking wine I'm drinking, I'm having such a fucking good time. It's like, well, wait, is that good wine that give you a good time, or is it shitty wine that give you a shitty time? Because shitty, that's the other one. That's the 20%. There's fucking or shitty. So it's wait, that fucking wine is that shitty wine or is that fucking great wine? Well, it's not great, but it's fucking wine. So then it's like a neutral. I don't know.
See, people describe. They say my accent is. People in Florida or from the South describe it as wholesome, and I'm like, wholesome.
Whoa, they
They're
don't know
like,
you.
I know, right? I was like, what the fuck is wholesome? And they're
Yeah.
like, that was my response. Like, what the fuck is wholesome?
You
And they're
throwing
like,
down debutante?
right? I was like, what the fuck is wholesome? I'm like, I drink beer.
I'm
Was my
I
response.
roller derby.
I roller derby and drink beer,
Yeah.
and I burp. Like, what the fuck? And I swear, left and right. Like, you guys don't know me,
But
but
sometimes when I'm with wicked microbes, I don't even wash my hands.
right? But they say I sound like I should, like, be making a pie, and, like, I don't know. I'm like,
Right.
what? They're like, you just sound so wholesome. I'm like,
Wow.
they also say that people from Wisconsin, we exaggerate our vowels. So,
Hmm.
uh like the O in Wisconsin, we exaggerate that. Um what else is it? Bagel? Like, we say bagel. Um
Right. They say bag.
yeah,
B-A soft A for bag or bagel. So bagel or bag. And we say
bag.
bag or bagel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
exaggerate our
It's regional.
vowels. But
Sure.
they describe it as wholesome. And people in Boston say they say that we have a tendency to say yeah no or like like
Ah,
and
sure.
that's a Midwestern thing apparently. Like you know.
Oh, definitely. It is funny too because, like we were talking about Fargo earlier, and so you have the North Dakota, Minnesota sort of extreme version of and then there's as you move eastward that tapers off.
Yeah.
So, like when I'm from the Madison area originally, there really wasn't any of that, and then it sort of starts up a little bit again, and then it's pretty predominant still in
It
Milwaukee.
is because I say
But
it a I
even
say it a lot. Like
yeah,
like
right.
yeah. I mean, I know I say it a lot. So, uh, but I mean, people in Boston they don't say it, and but they like laugh at me when I say it.
Do they have filler words though?
No,
I mean, like an or
no.
a
But
right
I
or
say a
no?
lot. I noticed that.
Sure. Or yeah, I'll say yeah all the
I go
time. Yeah, maybe now I'll just say
right
microbe.
microbe.
Microbe. Microbe. Yeah. I'll have to come up with a new one. We can do like the Esperanto of filler words
I know.
dictionary.
I've been trying to I've been trying to use the word wicked, but apparently I keep using it wrong. So apparently, like I said it
Oh.
once, and they like looked at me, and I was like, "What?" Apparently, I used it inappropriately. So I don't know when to
Oh.
use the word wicked. Either that or I didn't say it right.
Maybe you can only use it in front of a noun. You can't use it at the end of a sentence. So maybe you can't say you're
No, no.
wicked, but you could say you're
Yeah,
wicked
I
smart.
think that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like used as like it's supposed to be used in conjunction with. I don't know. Like it's not supposed to be like
Yeah.
that's wicked. It's supposed to be like the concert was just wickedly awesome, man.
Right. Yeah, and luckily though, if you find yourself making that mistake and you're about to end the sentence with a wicked, you just throw some random noun at the end of it to get you out of that
That's
situation.
wicked cool.
Yeah, you nailed it. Sweet. And that was like instant. That was like instant,
Right,
Ashley. Nice. Awesome. Well, thank you. I know I've taken up a lot of your night here, and your cat is probably sad.
right. He's pouting at me right
But I
now.
thought this was then I said
Right,
yeah.
microbe.
Yeah. Microbe. Uh, nope, there I go again. Gonna have to edit out all my ums and leave yours in. That's what I'll do. I'll be like, hey, in the show notes, I'll say, hey, Ashlee was just umming all over the place.
Right.
Now, did you have a good time?
I did. We can probably do this again.
Let's do it.
Hopefully, you get some other contenders up in here.
Sure. Yeah.
I tried to share your page as well to some other people, so hopefully they like it, and hopefully you got some good content to share. I tried to keep
I think I.
I
Yeah.
tried to keep the swearing to a minimum. So
Oh, that doesn't bother me. It's a podcast. It's like cable or XM radio. Nobody cares.
right, that's true.
Yeah. Nobody gives a wicked shit.
There you go.
Yeah. That'll surprise. I think that'll remove you from the wholesome list if you whip that one out down south.
Right.
Well, thank you very much. This was awesome.
Well, thanks again for having me.
That was Ashlee. She's cool. And I tell you, she can play a mean Fortnite. I ain't gonna lie. She said she tried to keep the profanity to a minimum. Yeah, right. Being episode 1 and all, I don't have many listener email or comments yet. Send them in, and I will try to get to them on a future episode. Just a couple of clarifications and addendums to that talk we just had, and then I'll let you go. I mentioned my friend Joel and his friends. That's 5-Spot Joel. 3 words all smushed together. 5-Spot Joel. He is the host of A-Bog, a Band of Gamers podcast. Check it out if you like video games, beer, music, musical beer, And accents, plenty of those. Canadian, English, Midwest. It's like babble up in that pod. Podcast. Pod is short for podcast. I'm telling you this because, frankly, I'm just glad some of my followers made it here. The whole podcast thing is kind of new to them. It's very new to them. So I'm very proud of you, truly. Hitting those touch screens, typing in the words, searching for the words, clicking subscribe, maybe going all out and setting how many episodes come down at a time. You are frickin' rocking that device, my friend. Oh, and make sure to leave a review if your podcast app allows it. That would be really cool to see. And visit indeepwithdan.com. Email indeepwithdan@gmail.com. What else? Oh yeah, if you want to be on the show, drop me a note and let me know what's on your mind. I'll reply and we can go from there. And thanks again for showing up. You're my best friend. Cue creepy single white female gaze in your direction now. I'll talk to you next week. Hey, be shallow until then because you've got to be rested up to go in deep. Try that again. I'll talk to you next week. Be shallow until then because you've got to be rested up to go in deep. In deep. In